Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Luxury. I'm your host, Alex Brandau, a Nashville, Tennessee-based global luxury real estate specialist and someone who is endlessly curious about the people and stories behind refined experiences. On this show, we go beyond the surface, diving deep into the craft, culture, and character behind what luxury really means today. All right, y'all, we're back with another fabulous episode. Let's talk luxury. And listen, we have got a super exciting guest we have been working on for many weeks, and we are thrilled to have Natalie Katz. Natalie, thanks for joining us. We're thrilled to have you on Let's Talk Luxury.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, listen, you're in high demand, girl. We're honored that you're going to share some time between all your businesses and opportunities and family. I mean, listen, thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, give us a little intro. You've got a lot of things going on. Tell us a little bit about you and, to all of our listeners and fans.
I guess I didn't start selling handbags would be probably the best way to say it. And I feel like I didn't go to college to say I'm going to just flip handbags for a living.
Yes.
So I guess I've always just had like that entrepreneurial mindset. I did door-to-door sales, selling cakes when I was like 8 years old, for camp and all that. So it kind of just grew from there. I sold electronics in college. I guess I'm partially still a nerd. So I would, buy tech and do that thing. And then I graduated college, started my first big girl job at DHL and, met some people and they all had designer handbags. And I was like, I was making $32,000 out of college. So that's going to date myself. And, I could not afford a designer handbag. So, I was happy with my $30 Steve Madden bag. And, one of my friends, all these guys bought her bags. And I was like, there's not a single guy that's going to buy me a bag. So I'm just going to go out and get a used one. And I used it. I loved it. And when I got bored, I sold it for more than I paid because if there's one thing I'm good at, it's comps. So it just started with one and then two. And then I was like, I think I just stumbled onto my new business. And that was in 2011. And here we are.
Wow. So was that just the evolution or was there a specific moment along the way that just was like, man, this has really got traction. This has got a future?
I mean, I guess for me, it's always like what I say is everyone should have a job and they should have a side hustle, and like the dream is just for that side hustle to essentially replace that main stream of income, whether you're a teacher who is doing like an Etsy printing on the side or whether you're a realtor that runs a car washing business on the side, whatever it is, I feel like everyone should always just have that like second stream of income. I feel like, I know they say like what's 8, revenue streams for success, I don't know the correct number, but I feel like, and then you should have that side hustle that should hopefully grow. I feel like, when it got to the point that I was essentially making more on my side hustle, that's when I was like, wait a second, like I have to step back because I can't be in two places at once.
Sure. Yeah, listen, multitasking is a fable, right? It's doing monotasking multiple different times.
Yes, I haven't heard that one. I think I'm going to steal that phrase now.
Well, I just made it up. So, you and I are the first two. So, because you really can't really truly focus on stuff. And I tell people that all the time. When you're in business with us, like it will be maybe 3 or 4 hours between communications because when we're present, we're present. What we were talking in the pre-show, like we both turned our phones off so we can be present and here, and also as a courtesy so it doesn't beep in the audio background. I don't like that in podcasts. So it's just part of it. So Tell us a little bit, like maybe something that's gone just exactly as you expected as you've launched and been in business, and then maybe even one that went, you thought was going to be exactly right and didn't go quite as much as you expected.
Wow. I guess that just goes back to, I guess, how I started. So I started selling back then. So back in 2011,
right.
On literally Craigslist, right? So Craigslist, I would make ads, meet up at the corner of a Walgreens to sell a handbag. And obviously, like looking back at it, I'm lucky to be alive, and then the evolution from that to, eBay, Tradesy to Poshmark, like those were like the OGs. So I would say like what's gone well is technology, right? It's made my life a lot easier. from the develop, from having to pay, eBay now is about 13%, Poshmark's as high as 20. So that's a big piece of a pie to give, even more so than real estate's. I
Sure.
would say like what's gone right is just the evolution of technology, the evolution of AI that has made my life so much easier. Like where I would spend if I got a bag that was quite rare and it was a rabbit fur Chanel, I'd go on Google and put rabbit fur Chanel and I'd scroll for 3 hours until I found that listing to see what that comp was. And now with AI, I can do that within like 30 seconds. I now have every comp imaginable, so I can essentially do my job faster.
Wow.
And then would say what's gone wrong would be people using that, right? Going back to like real estate, what giving them this false illusion of what an item is worth because they have so much power in their hands, right? So a
Mm.
listing is not what something is worth, it's just what something hasn't sold for.
That's right. That's right. We always talk about fair market value is whatever someone has the money to pay and is willing to pay. Like
Yeah,
that's true market value, right? I'm sure I've sold houses for over their value. I'm sure you've sold bags for over their value because somebody had the money and they wanted it. Like it's
exactly.
theirs.
And you can't place like an emotional value because again, like real estate, because your child went to this amazing school and the school district is amazing, but if that family that's moving into that house doesn't have kids, like that's worthless to them, so
That's right.
it's the same thing. Like if you're selling the rarest evening bag, but that person isn't an evening person, that's not going to mesh well. So that's why I always say like real estate and luxury handbags are really, really the same.
Well, I'll share one that was a little embarrassing. I'm sure this client is a follower. I don't know that for certain, but I'm pretty sure she is. This is showing our what one of my passions when I started learning in luxury and learning about bags was I was interviewing with a client. I didn't sell them the home, but they knew I had market share in the area and they'd seen some of the things we'd done. So they called us. They're both physicians, the husband and the wife, two young children. And so we go in the house and the husband is a huge tech and electronics guy, right? Like he's like prosumer grade electronics on some things. And we go into the primary at their closet and we're looking and she points out to her bag shelf and she was like, hey, since the house is going to be open, we're going to have people in here. Are my bag's going to be okay. Well, they were in the dust bags, and which I did not know at the time. And this is several years ago. I was very inexperienced. And I mean, dust bags to me were like very intentional, but they just look like a little burlap bag with a pull top. And I was like, yeah, those are going to be fine. Not going to be a big deal. Just leave them right where they are. I totally bricked. And she was like, do you know what's in those? And I was like, I don't think I do. And it was like $400,000 worth of bags. And I was like, yeah, we're going to move those.
I mean, even when we tented our house for termites, I literally was like, can I just lock a closet? And they were like, if it's big enough to fit a body, it needs to be unlocked. So that was literally the rule. So every single thing that was above $100 evacuated with us. And I mean, it took like two moving trucks like to just take like all the valuables with us. I mean, but so I get that. I feel like when we go to sell our home, it'll be the same, although realtors do their best. You just never know.
Yeah. Well, tell me something. I always like on Let's Talk Luxury, we always ask like, what to you makes something truly luxury versus just expensive?
That is a great question. I mean, I think that just boils down. It's funny, like when I first started, I wanted like the loudest branded bags. Like I wanted it to have a logo, like that you could see it from a mile away.
Mm,
And I feel like, I don't know if as I've gotten older or as, trends have changed, right? Same with real estate, like quiet luxury. It's just, I want now. So just to sidetrack there, Louis Vuitton is coated canvas. It is literally a piece of canvas that they plop this like resin and it's literally plastic. Like, when I sell a bag and someone's like, "Oh, what's the smell?" It's literally the smell of hot plastic from it being in
right.
a box. I mean, unfortunately, it's just what it is. So I've switched from that just to going to a beautiful leather bag, and I'm kind of a little mindful of like VOCs in the home and like trying to use like non-toxic chemicals. So I feel like my where we've gone is just I want a leather bag, whether it's a loud logo or it's a quiet logo, whether it's a Chanel or whether it's Louis Vuitton. Like I just prefer like an all leather piece. And to kind of go on a tangent there, I tagged along with my husband yesterday to a networking event, and he's in YPY, which is Young Professionals in Yachting, and they had a panel. We did it at the Dakota, the most beautiful spot I've ever been to, at one of the showrooms, and they were talking about how interior design has changed, and they were saying how they used to outfit these, multi yachts with monogramming on every single piece on that boat with that boat's name. And now it's quiet luxury where they don't want that boat's name on everything, on like maybe a cup, but it's not on every linen, on every towel. So it's just like, I feel like quiet luxury, whether it's in handbags and real estate and cars and everything, has just been like the persistent thing right now.
There's no question about that. I can absolutely see it. I mean, there's a trend in the past 12 months in our world about that the quiet luxury, they don't like the exposure. They want the privacy, the exposure being out there and being, like you said, I knew exactly where you were going with the brand of that is so visible from so far. And to your point, that quiet, or we use the language subtle luxury too, that is, like doesn't have to be directly in your face. There's a broker in town who he made a post the other day and he was like, thanks to all my clients. He's in front of his Maserati. He's like, this is my fourth Maserati in 7 years. Thanks to all my clients. And we were like, and I was like, what? Like,
Yeah, that's like a slap to the face. I mean, I think, it's basically like, I don't know, because necessarily your clients might not have those 7 Maseratis, right? And
yeah.
at the same time, like, I could sell bags I have people that are multimillionaires and they're buying hundreds of bags from me, just as I have that, nursing student out of college that's buying her first bag because she's getting her first paycheck. So I feel like staying humble and staying like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it, like a normal human being is kind of what's going to differentiate yourself. Like people are going to see that post and they're like his impact of him thinking like this is going to look so good, it's actually going to backfire in his face.
Yep, that's right. Well, I always like this question. I bet you've got one. So, because I actually frequently talk about the presentations that you see in the bag world, and so what's an extraordinary piece of service or experience that you've encountered, across, the bag industry?
I would say, just taking that extra time to just write like a handwritten note. I mean, you've heard so many stories now of there was that like famous guy. I think it was like an MLB player, and he went to go like buy his wife a bag and he was just like turned away from the store because he looked like an average Joe. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a mom. I mean, 99% of the time when I'm out in public, I look like I need to shower and brush
Right.
my hair, but that's just me 99% of the time, other than when I'm
Yeah.
doing content. So I feel like taking that time as a small business or just a business in general, just to like add that, like, I call it like the human touch, I feel like is what sets any company apart, especially in, luxury handbags.
Hmm. Well, how important do you think exclusivity is versus, just accessibility in today's luxury market?
I mean, I would say, it's funny. This is, I guess, a good example. Louis Vuitton, their most famous or popular bag is the Neverfull, and it's a tote. It started at when I started in the business at like $700. It's now about 2,100, and it's this like double-edged sword because they've stopped quote unquote like selling it. You can't order it. I
Mm,
can't remember if you can't buy it in store and you can just order it online. But what they want is they don't want people coming into the store and buying something because it's like, oh, it's like the soccer mom bag. But to me, it's like, I don't know, it's going back to shoving that in people's face. It's like the bag that made you and is putting you on the map, and like, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like these are the people that are keeping you in business. So, they're doing this for that exclusivity, right? So that
mm,
like the more, higher end customers are going to them and not buying that like $2,000 beach bag, right? They're going to buy their leather goods, their exotic goods, their shoes, their jewelry, what they're trying to push. So they're trying to do that like for exclusivity. And I feel like it's kind of like, again, stay humble and remember who made you this way, especially
mm.
when, it's funny because resale for me is like every year I see growth. During COVID, I was like so scared I was just going to close down. And during COVID, I think I went X revenue that year. So
Wow.
it's one of those things that, as luxury sales, as like the businesses themselves are declining, and resale is increasing. It's just funny to have all these retailers kind of like, make it less accessible.
Yeah, right. I mean, in one way, that's right. That's one way they're trying to drive, value and exclusivity. But at the same time, it's 2025. People are finding a way,
Well,
right?
Gucci recently, I read an article, they burned, Gucci the Marmont came out. It was like the shiny new toy. I mean, it put them on the map, right? Like every brand has had something in the past 5 years that has like resurrected them. And then Gucci over there, burning $10 million in handbags because, they're just like too common now. So to like combat that, they burn $10 million. But it's like, you know, is that going to backfire when, you're just burning goods that is
Yeah.
now gonna be it's bad PR, right? And, I know there's no such thing as bad PR, but that is in fact bad PR.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think there is bad PR, in my opinion. Well, tell us somewhere a part where you educate your clients. Is there a part that you love really sharing with clients and educating them as they start, the search and the process with you?
Yeah, so I always do I guess what I like to set myself apart with is doing content. Like I don't need to sell the bag. I always say the bag is going to sell itself. So I always try to educate, and that's whether, buying a white handbag, like avoiding that brand new denim, or if you buy that shoulder bag, did you know if you crisscross the strap, you can get three different lengths out of it? Or
Mm.
hey, the canvas bag isn't going to wear as well as the leather. I know you want that logo, but do you want your money to just kind of last longer? So I feel like I always gear my content towards education because I feel like that's what people always say they buy me, buy into me for, my genuineness. And like, I feel like that's what that's just me, I try to give tricks when I can. I'm like a little kid at heart. So whenever I find like a hack, I'm the first one that like throws on makeup and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's make content. Whenever I can find any trick, like removing a stain or anything, I'm the first one that's like, let's share this. Like I'll definitely gatekeep like certain aspects of my business that are proprietary, but like anything else, like I'm happy to share my knowledge.
I'm totally with you on that. Like, it's fun when you get excited. It can be like, oh my gosh, you didn't know that, this, it's just this amazing car phone, car holder for your phone. Like, oh my gosh, it's $10. It's so nice. And I've had it and promoted it for 10 years. I need to be an affiliate marketer for it,
Same,
but
same.
I'm 100% with you on that. That's funny. Small world there. Well, what's something, that would surprise people about the time intensive, either in the process for you or something you've discovered about one of the manufacturers, about the bags, like something that just really takes time either to create it or in your process too, that could take more time than they would think.
Say that, just the process of authenticating takes a while, making sure, every detail is consistent to the brand. When the item comes in, there's so many steps that go into it, whether it's cleaning it or staging it for pictures or putting it into inventory, photographing it. People think it's like so easy. And I always say I quit working 40 hours for someone else to work 100 hours for myself. And that's, I mean, literally, I work 9 to 5. I put my, kids in bed at 8 and then I work 8 until midnight and then it just repeats. I wear my Apple Watch and it's almost like a punishment because I think I haven't slept more than 5, 6 hours since I was pregnant 5, 6 years ago. It's just and just going back to like the quality of the bags, it's really cool. Like geek out when pieces are handmade. Fendi makes a hand stitched bag, but that's cool. To have something that a literal person made and not a machine, I think is so cool. So that's why like going back to like where I see design going is just the little details like that of the quiet luxury, like more so than like the flashy logo bag.
Well, you let us in. You had some nice, intuition there. That was going to say, what's the trend that you see in the bag world right now?
The trend is just that. I mean, it's literally just, I mean, again, you're going to have those fresh nursing students, that first time mom that wants that diaper bag. So, like, the classic, what I call like my top 10 is never going to stop being sold because it's like,
Yeah.
what is attainable luxury, right? Like my average order value is 1,000, and that's I do sell $20,000 bags just like I sell $100 keychain, right? But that average order value is predominantly because of, having those accessible bags. And then I would just say the trends are just going to, just little dumb things. But, Chanel used to use 24 karat gold plated hardware back in like the early 2000s. And now you buy that $7,000 bag and within a year it's tarnished. So I feel like people that just were buying for the brands are just being a little bit more, I don't know, like I don't know what the correct word would be, more just in the know of what to look for and just more attention to detail on buying things that are going to last because that bag from the 90s or early 2000s like has no tarnishing, but yet their $7,000 bag within 6 months or a year does. So it's just turning people off. So I
Mm.
think they're just being better about buying materials that are going to last, the test of time that you can pass down to your kids or your grandkids.
I'll never forget the first time I saw a guy in the field that I didn't know that was wearing a paddock. and Patek Philippe, right? And so I'll never forget it. He walked up, and I'm kidding, not kidding, in a sleeveless shirt, slides, and sweatpants, and a $200,000 watch. And, I waited until the end, and I knew it, and I knew what it was. And to your point, like, that is a heritage piece that probably was handed down, and will be handed down. And so I love that they're more discerning about their decisions for more heritage, type pieces.
And it's
What
funny,
about,
thank God I have my husband because he's the one that points out the watches because I can tell you what every bag is worth that anyone's, wearing. I can count, the Cartier bracelets and I can give, those TikToks of like what is she wearing? And then like the itemize. I can do that. But when it comes to a watch, I don't know the first thing. So
yeah.
again, we were at a real estate networking event. One of our friends is a big realtor down here. And same thing, like this guy he was giving Adam Sandler like a, $10 t-shirt, some like basketball shorts, and we walked out and he's like, did you see what was on his wrist? Like, all gold Rolex that was like 50 or 75. And I was like, no idea. Like, no idea. Like, I didn't even look.
Yep. It's funny, you just don't. Sometimes you look right past it. You had no idea until and then when
Then
you key on it. It's a lot like I find in the golf shirt world, right? Like if you've got the logo and you know what the logo is, and the more exclusive, like you can find some connectivity, right? Everybody's seen the Masters logo and generally knows what that is, but I've been in other parts of the world where I was wearing a Masters shirt and they had no idea, and they're like, "Oh, is that your home club?" And I'm like, "No,"
funny.
I'm waiting on that call, Augusta National, but it's just interesting that how that can come up. So I like this one. This is one of my favorites. What's an emerging market or an emerging brand that you think people ought to keep an eye on in the weeks and months ahead?
So what's interesting about that is going back to like all leather, people are going back to again, just to like keep tying in the same topic, which is quiet luxury. Again, people wanting that leather. I think they are going into those smaller brands. Like I wouldn't say it's up and coming because it's come. So there's Pollen, and it started, I believe it was just online. It was in Europe for like a couple of years. All of their handbags were about 200 to 300, and it was good like that. They had a couple price increases, 400 or 500. Then they opened some brick and mortar stores. I believe the first one was Paris, then New York, and I think they have a few more now. But of course, LVMH chilling in the corner, looking at them, saying, I want a piece of the pie. And here we are. Of course, they invested. But so, it's up and coming, but it's just so interesting. No one on the map that was just selling some like leather bags for, $200 is now, partially owned by LVMH. So,
Mm.
it's just staying in the know of, things like that. And I still think they make a superb bag. If you don't want a brand and you just want like a good quality bag, go for Pollen. It's literally I don't even know if it's three. I guess probably $300 to $800. It's a great value for what you're getting.
Amazing. That's fun. I'm always like that triple win. Like I'm the buyer that's like, it's got to be exactly what I want, and it's got to be really good, and it's got to be a good deal. Like I'm that guy. We got to hit all the places, or if I'm like, my wife meanwhile is like, I like it, let's go. You know?
That is so funny. And I'm brutally honest, which is I think another reason why people like buying from me is they will say, "Hey, what do you think about this bag?" And the other like 9 out of 10 salespeople are like, "Oh my God, it's amazing. It's perfect for you. Like it'll look
Yeah.
great." Where I ask questions like, "Well, do you mind sharing your body size? Like how tall are you?
Yeah.
What are your needs? Like
Yeah.
are you a mom? Are you, working? Like what are your needs?" "Oh, well, I have 2 kids." I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of a delicate bag. This is a low maintenance bag, or this is a crossbody, or, this is going to require you to do A, B, C. So, I either say absolutely don't buy it or absolutely don't buy it. And I have another one. Like I am happy to lose that sale because I ended up getting a customer, not necessarily a sale. And then down the
Yes.
road, whatever 1, 2, or 3 bags I recommended, they're going to come back because I don't want to sell them something they're going to be unhappy with because at the end of the day, they're just going to trade it back and they're going to resent me for having sold something that just doesn't work for their lifestyle.
Yes. Well said. I totally agree. It's ridiculous when you walk into a luxury house and someone's like, what's your name? Where are you from? Like, I'm like, stop it. Like, they know, they've done all that with me.
Yeah.
You're the last one to the party. Like, that's making their experience bad. And you got to ask some of those more, personal questions to be able to deliver that exceptional service, right? Because
And that applies to real estate too, because it's like when we were even house shopping the first time, we had this realtor that every single house we went to, it was amazing. We should buy every single house we stepped foot into, it was the one. And that is not who we ended up, buying our house with. We ended up buying the house with, the person that was like, does this work for you? You said you wanted this, but it doesn't have it. Like, is that the person who is, what I would consider like in my corner instead of trying to make that sale is going to be
yeah,
the one that's going to get your business. So again, going back to like handbags and real estate, it's really the same.
no doubt. No, there's no question. Okay, a couple more. As we got about three more to go. What's one luxury experience or item that you think everyone should experience at least once?
Say just having one designer piece, just
Mm,
one bag that is something that you're going to use. And it doesn't need to be, that evening bag. Like I had a friend that wanted a designer bag and I told her not to get an evening bag and she got like a little evening crossbody. Fine that, just take my advice,
yep.
but the opposite. So and literally, again, this is like one of my best friends a few months later. She's like, yeah, I went to one wedding and I used it. And I'm like, great, but what about the other, 6 months? What did you use? Nothing. So I would just say, like, literally a Louis Vuitton pochette accessories. They're like $300 to $600 used. You can add a strap, use it shoulder or crossbody. Everyone needs one of those, and whether you're, handing it to your 12-year-old for her bat mitzvah or your 83-year-old's grandmother, it's just one of those bags that is timeless and it'll just last forever. And then you can pass it down. So it's just one of those things that, again, if you're a woman or a man, I mean, it's a great bag.
I love that. What about outside the industry? What about another experience or something that you've experienced just generally?
I would say traveling. I always say before you like, obviously there's like the saying like I don't want to be the richest bitch in the cemetery, and like, my house, my cars, like that is I can't be buried with that. So before we had kids, like even now that we have two kids, we travel every summer, every opportunity, every break we get. Japan, Morocco. I mean, we did pretty much all of Southeast Asia. I mean, it's one of those things that I say, like, don't buy, that designer piece. Like, if that's going to be the difference of traveling, like, travel. That is something like being cultured, like experiencing how other people live, like in Singapore and Japan, how people are so polite. Like, travel, eat everything. I mean, I won't eat like, scorpions, but I'll eat everything else. No scorpions, no snails, but I'll eat everything else. So traveling, I would say that that's a luxury that I feel like that's what helped me grow up. Just and same thing in college, I backpacked every summer. I saved. I had two jobs at like $6 an hour. I had no idea how I could afford to travel, but I made it
Right.
work. I did 2 months in Europe with $3,000. You make ends meet. You take out a loan. You do whatever you need to do to travel, and that is something that I swear you will get a return on your investment.
I love that. I totally agree. I always come back inspired and with a different, more collaborative view of the world and being more of a global connector and influencer, right? I mean, and I don't mean influencer in the today's terms of influencer, but being able to talk about a client that has a home that's in Blackshire in London and being able to go that specific, about their property or their specific neighborhood, in Miami or their specific neighborhood in Maine, where they summer, that's not just Kennebunkport, like where it is in Kennebunk, and those type things. I totally agree. When you go and travel, you get to see the world differently, and the food makes a big difference too. And then you have ways to connect, to more
Yeah.
people and clients. So
And I always say traveling domestically is so much more expensive than traveling internationally.
yes,
Here, our flights are expensive, our hotels are expensive, our food is expensive. So people get turned off by, oh, that $700 flight to Europe when it's like 200 to go to New York. But I promise you, once you're there, your money's going to go so much further. So don't get turned off by that ticket price, because I promise you the hotels will be cheaper, the food will be cheaper. The transportation is cheaper. There is transportation. So just that aspect of not needing a
yeah,
car, not
yeah.
needing to rent a car, not needing to pay for parking, like, having $2 to $3 a day to transport you all around a city is just incredible.
It's yes, we're so far behind there. We have so much to learn for sure. Well, okay, so last question. In your book of life, what's your current chapter and what's it called?
My current chapter is keeping my head above water. But this is the chapter in my life that there's so much going on and I still don't, it's an everyday struggle just to manage it all, but that is what makes it exciting, right? I feel like if there wasn't so much going on, I swear I'd be bored. I always say I'm a glutton for punishment because I do it to myself. But, there's always room to grow still. Even with everything I have on my plate, I'm still always anxious and excited to like take on more opportunities. Like I'll never say no to something, even though my plate is full because I feel like I'll just make it happen. So I would say my current chapter is just keep swimming. And
Well said. Well said.
what's your
Well,
current chapter called?
yeah, well, I would say we're not far apart there. I see a little bit of both. I would say I've got two chapters, but I'm going to align with you that just keep swimming because generally that's the answer, right? We get distracted by passionate things and things we're passionate about and things that could be better, but that we're not going to fix today. And I can get really distracted and passionate about, let's go make this the best that it can be. When in reality, we should have just kept swimming on what we were doing and then we could have had impact on that item. So I think that's one. I think the next one is with my family and my business. We're in a place that it's a little bit of new beginnings. My oldest is 21 and a senior in college. My youngest is 11, and then I've got a 14 and 16-year-old in between there. And so we're all of a sudden like kind of rising all of a sudden out of like diapers and
The trenches. You're rising
daily
from the
yeah
trenches.
yes, like the
I am in
trench.
the trenches.
That 11-year-old can get his own breakfast and
Ugh,
he can take care of his morning responsibilities.
the dream.
Whereas for almost 3 decades now, we have been in the trench. And so I would say we've come up out of the trench. We're coming up for air and are fully, I would say the neck is completely out. But we're still in the water, right? We're still in the game. But I would say that our sun is rising because we have a really clear path personally and a really clear path professionally. And now it's just about execution. No one's ever asked me what my chapter is. Thank you.
No, of course. I have a 5 and 2-year-old, so that's why my chapter is literally called "Just Keep Your Head Above Water and Don't
Yeah,
Drown."
that's right.
So,
That's right. Well,
and
listen, go
and I
ahead.
guess
Go ahead.
something else, I mean, so going back to just like I know it's a little off topic, but something that my husband invited me on a double date with this other couple, and I feel like I just haven't like gone out to make friends, and I'm an introvert at heart. So it's that I guess got me saying that I know, being a person now is just impossible to make friends, right? It's just so easy, to go on the dating apps and to meet someone cool, but how do you make friends? So I guess something that I'm excited for once, because again, going back to like my cup is never full, even though it's overflowing,
Yeah.
is I'm gonna start, just like a no commitment. Like I'm not trying to sell bags, literally just maybe once a quarter, a like, let's hang out. I'll run an event and it'll be completely free and just sign up, bring some friends. And all I want is just people to be open minded and, hopefully leave there. And if one person makes one friend or has like something to connect on, that's really all I want.
Well, look, let's be really open. That's why we're doing this. That's why we started the podcast is to find connections and people and fast friends. And we've never seen each other live face to face, but oh my gosh, we have 20 things in common, and I say that to people. I was just at a child's event, which is a priority for me because we're in that sun rising. So I'm like that time is fleeting, that it'll go away. I'm standing next to a stone cold stranger who I do not know, and somehow just gave him a compliment. He was running the scoreboard at a fifth grade football game, right? This is not luxury, right? I mean, it was a private school game, I guess. So, I mean, it's a little bit luxury. But I'd said, hey, man, I've been in your shoes. Man, that's stressful. Good job. And he's like, man, it is stressful. Like, I got parents watching me and like, you didn't have the extra point. Like, what is this? Stop the clock. And I'm like, yeah. And I said, man, tell me. I've been there. And he goes, oh, you've done this? And I said, yeah. And we start talking. I said, I did it at high school lacrosse. He goes, I love lacrosse. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And he was like, I love lacrosse. Now we're in Nashville. Like lacrosse is not big in Nashville, right? We're not like in Boston where that's common to say. All of a sudden we're fast friends. It turns out our children are going to be on the same team together this calendar year. We didn't even know it. They're going to play on the same end. His son's a goalie. My son's a defender. Like I was like, hold up. And we went to
So you
college.
made a friend. You
We
literally
made
made
a
a
friend.
friend in adulthood. I feel like you come home and you open the front door and you're like screaming at the top of the lungs. You're like, I made a friend.
Yes.
Like the meet cutes. You had a meet cute for like a friend. And like that's kind of what I want because like literally, I'm gonna date myself again, but like 20 years ago, I went to like a Match.com event and it was awful. Like, this is so awful. And it was all the guys and then all the girls. And I literally like made girlfriends and literally to this day, like still friends with some of those girls. But besides that, like super random event that I will absolutely never go to as a married woman, like, how am I making a friend, other than the people that like live here that I mean, I always say like I'm, friends due to proximity, but I want like lifelong friends. And it's just like, something that I feel like,
Mm.
I don't want to go to like, a young professionals like networking thing. I just want random normal people that might not be young professionals, that might just be a school teacher, a nurse, a caretaker, anyone. I just want to be friends with normal people. I
Yes.
can have that experience for everyone else too. So I just figured, get some charcuterie platters, host it at, I know like super cliche, like painting with a twist, but something along those lines and just have some fun.
I love it. I'm gonna add that in my world just because it's regular recurring and once a month it'll pop up like that. Just,
A just because networking event. Literally, I think that's what it should be called, just
oh
because.
my gosh, we're totally using that just
A just
because.
because networking event. I don't like, I mean, and yesterday I went to that networking event and literally it was like my nightmare saying hello to everyone because again, as an introvert, like, please don't notice me, but it was fun. Like, I actually had fun. I don't know if it was me or the rosé, but I had fun.
Let me give one more note of verbal rosé with my new fast friend. We were fast friends. We exchanged numbers as you do here, right? I was like, bump your phone or text me your contact, and so I did, and I got no response. It was so great. I talked to someone else. He's like, "Oh my God, you two are definitely made to be buddies." Whatever. So I did what you do, right? What I do is you call them and you go, "Hey, it was great meeting you. Whatever. Can you come out and play?" And guess what?
Can Johnny come out and play?
He totally ghosted me.
No,
No
he
joke.
didn't. No, he didn't.
And I was, yes, he did. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Did I overstep? Was it me? Was it him? I did all that stuff. I'm 48 years old. Like, I am a grown up. And like,
Just the plot twist that you got the wrong number or he still to this day ghosted you?
all the things still. And so
No.
here's the thing though. Hold on. Here's the encouragement.
Plot twist.
I didn't sit on it. I had all the things, right? I had the fight or flight in my head. He didn't like me. I said something I shouldn't have. He found out that I have golden retrievers and he hates golden retrievers. I don't know, but I did all that nonsense. You know what? I picked up the phone and was like, stop it. And I called him again. And he was like, hey. I said, hey man, it's Alex. He was like, hey,
Double
what's up?
called.
Double calls. Push
Not on the
through.
same day, though. Not on the same day, right?
Not on the same day. No, it wasn't that. It
Single
didn't-
calls.
I didn't back to back. It was about 3 days between. But in the 3 days, I had built it up that he knows somebody, and somebody said something, and like he knows that we shouldn't be friends. It was ridiculous. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. Yes, I left you on red. I'm sorry. I had this and this and this and this, and yeah, let's get together. Super excited. Yeah, sorry. And that was it. Like, but
That's
just
very encouraging. I mean, honestly, I have at any given time 10 unread, I mean, honestly, 40. I don't know why I said 10. I have 40 unread text messages, like emails, like I don't even know you can get to that high of a number on Apple. So it's just one of those things that like I guess the moral of the story is don't be scared to double call, don't be scared to double
yeah,
text. This isn't like, I mean, like I have one friend, bless her heart, like Courtney. I hope when I grow up I can be a Courtney, but I don't reply and she's on top of me like, hey, let's hang out, like let's do this. And like
yes.
I'll say yes and then I move on. And then she's like, I'm confirming. I feel like every person needs one of those that like you have the one friend that, that's on top of it. And then the one person who just like swims through life, and I feel like you just can't be, scared to take that risk.
You got to shoot your shot, and you got to be situationally aware too, right? Like you and you've already mentioned you're in the public figure world, and sometimes you don't shoot your shot in the public figure world, but you got to go ahead and push through that fear, take that risk, because the risk is really not life threatening, right? It might feel life threatening, but they don't hurt you. Like they didn't really hurt you. It wasn't an actual, injury that you got to go to the hospital and broke
Yeah.
your arm. Like you didn't break your arm, like it hurt you emotionally, but at the same time, like push through anyway, like carry
And,
on.
and if he never honestly answered your second phone call, you know what? You would have gone to a different sporting event, a year down the road, met someone else and had your new lifelong best friend and you would have been just fine. So it's just one of those things where like shoot your shot. And if it's not meant for you, like it's not meant for you, and then
Yes.
something else will come down the road. Whether it's a
Yes.
house, whether it's a car, whether it's a husband, whether it's anyone else, like if it's shoot your shot, and if not, something better will come along. So don't worry.
Someone has asked me because I did that and I've shot my shot at various places and I'm other end, like I am off the chart extroverted. And
That's my
I've,
husband. So every introvert has their extrovert. So I am like,
yes,
he makes the friends and he takes me along, and I'm like, great, I'll just show up.
yes, yes. And I'm happy to have fun with y'all. Like y'all break trail for me.
Yeah.
Y'all break trail. Funny enough, a guy that I met that was with us on a sports field with one of the children, saw him yesterday, was super excited. His wife curates an art show, and I've seen her several times, talked about multiple of the artists. They're gonna ask me to be on the board of that art show, and I don't have children that go to that school. And she's like, actually, I got to get an exception for you because
That's
you're not
funny.
here, right? I know, isn't that funny? And but she's like, but you know what you're talking about. You know half the artists better than half the board. And I mean, I wish I could tell you that it was really specific, but I just could talk about 3 or 4, which was enough, that was specific enough that she's like, oh yeah, like this person didn't come back and this one did, and that one's such a popular one.
That's
Anyways,
so
well,
funny.
as we wrap, if anyone wants to connect with you, what's your favorite platform and medium for them to follow? Stay in touch with you and all of your fabulous, introverted things to share.
I mean, I would say Instagram. I know a lot of people tend to like email me. I would say literally, I mean, people are shocked how quick I reply to a DM, going back to the fact that I don't sleep. So just
Mm,
send me a direct message on Instagram is the best way to reach me. I have a Facebook page too for the business. So, between both those platforms, I think I have like 80,000 followers. So I would say that that's the best way to reach me. I'm really quick there. And like I said, it's not always about selling handbags. Sometimes I get reached out about, what bag should I buy? And I don't want to buy used, and that's fine, but I'm going to go to the store and what should, I get? And I'm always, always happy to help. At the end of the day, once you're bored of that bag, you're going to sell it. So it's to my best interest to sell you a bag that's going to get you the best return on your investment. So kind of like you, if someone reaches out to you and, just wants a piece of advice, it might not be for this moment, but they're going to remember you for that help that you gave them and hopefully circle back. If I
always.
can help with anything, whether it's, pricing out an item you have for sale, or if you're thinking about selling it, you can always just send me a message on Instagram, and it's quite easy. It's her authentic. So HER and then authentic.
A plus, anything else that we didn't talk about?
No, that's it. I mean, I think we covered it all. And I guess anytime you come to South Florida, you're more than welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Luxury. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow, rate, and share this with someone you know that would like to know more about the finer things in luxury and how things are done differently. I'm Alex, and I'll catch you next time as we keep defining what luxury really means.